So the example problem that we're going to do is x squared. Well, that's not showing up at all. X squared plus y squared plus 20x plus 6y plus 28 equals 0. And what should I do first? Sierra, headphones up? Thank you. All right, so what should I do first? Yeah, move the 28, and then what else am I going to do? Group them. So I'm going to have x squared plus 20x, but I'm going to leave a space. And then I'm going to have y squared plus 6y, but leave a space. And that's going to equal negative 28. Okay. And then what do I do? Yeah, so I'm going to say 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to add 100 to complete the square. And if I do it to the left side of the equation, what do I have to do to the right side of the equation? I have to add 100. Okay, and then, give it a second. And then, what do I do next?
You do the same for the y.
So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to add 9 to complete the square, and then I'm going to add 9 to the right side of the equation. Okay, so I have something squared plus something squared equals a number. So what's in my first set of parentheses?
X plus 10.
X plus 10. What's in my second set of parentheses?
Y plus 3.
Y plus 3 equals
81.
81. Okay, so if I look at this, what's the center of my circle?
Negative 10, negative 3.
Negative 10, negative 3, so we do the opposite sign. And then what's the radius of my circle?
Is 81 r squared or is 89 r?
It's 81 is r squared. So then the radius would be 9. Okay. All right. Let's do another one because that was so fun. Okay, Miss Rice, I'm excited. X squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 16y plus 3 equals 0.
Can you read that out again? I don't know my glasses.
X squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 16y plus 3 equals 0. You're welcome.
On a roller coaster somewhere.
Oh. All right, so what do I do now? So move the 3 over and group them. So I'm going to have x squared minus 8x and y squared plus 16y equals negative 3. Okay. And then what? Divide by 2. So negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4.
And that would be plus 6.
Plus 16. So plus 16 to complete the square. Add 16 to the other side of the equation to keep it balanced. So
Negative 4.
and I got 16. So I added 16 over here, and I added 16 over here. Okay, and then what do I do?
I would do the same for the y.
So 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 squared is. So I'm going to add 64 to complete the square, and I'm going to add 64 to the right side of the equation to keep it balanced. And so that leaves me with something squared plus something squared equals something.
So it's x minus 4
Mm-hmm.
plus y plus 8
Mm-hmm.
equals, I think, 77.
Mm-hmm. So what would the center be?
4 negative 8.
4, negative 8. What would the radius be?
I don't want to do that.
Square root of 77, whatever that decimal happens to be.
What square root of 77?
You can literally put square root of 77.
But then how do you graph that?
Then you'd have to get a decimal to graph it. But as far as like, could you answer some questions on it? Like, yeah, you could answer some questions.
Would you graph that on a calculator?
If you were to graph it on a calculator, there's two different ways you could do it. You can do it by isolating y, and which is a lot of work because you have to get everything away from the y. The other way is there's a way to program. Oops.
For our radius, we could
Oh, you can hit conics. So if you want to graph it in your calculator, you hit the apps button right here. And then you go down to conics. It's a certain type of conic. And number 1 is a circle. So the reason you can't graph it on the normal graphing screen is because circles are not functions. They don't pass the vertical line test. And when you graph something in that y equals screen, your calculator only likes to graph a function. So for you to plug this in as something that's not a function, then you have to go through the app to do it instead.
What
Yeah.
about a half circle?
You could graph a half circle on the top half, but it would be obnoxious because you'd have to isolate the y. So you'd have to like move everything, yeah. So if we do, so it was apps, and then the first one, so our h here would be 4, our k is negative 8, our radius is square root 77, and then it will graph it for us. Look how pretty that is. What a beautiful circle. No, you're not feeling it?
Yeah.
And if you notice when I typed that in, I didn't type -4, I typed +4, so I was like typing the center in. So +4, -8. I typed it in as square root 77 and it did the decimal for me to a lot of decimal places. So that's pretty accurate.
That's right.
Wasn't that fun though?
Do the older calculators do it? My calculator just solved it like application.
Are we gonna need to know how to do that?
I have
No.
idea.
So
I don't
the other, so if you hit apps again, well, if you clear that, get escape, help, get out, bye. Okay. If you hit apps again and go to conics, there's other types of conics, and you learn about those in pre-cal. So, I mean, we've done parabolas before, but you do parabolas, the normal ones that we're used to, and then also sideways, except this way, mostly. Anyway, interesting.
Wait, this is different than what we're doing. Why isn't it working?
Well, I'm just not having you graph them in your calculator. Somebody just asked how you could graph it in your calculator.
So I mean, like, on what we're about to do.
Yeah, you're not graphing them. You're finding equations of circles. Yeah. All right. There is one more I wanted to do with you because it has a missing part, and I don't want it to throw you off when you see it. So one more example. Also, these examples are problems off the wall. So because when I made the answer key, I was like, oh, that's a lot of problems. So I decided we could do something other to start with. So when you're doing the problems on the wall, all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, we did that one already. And then it will be a nice little break. Okay? All right. So here's the next one. X squared plus y squared plus 20y plus 36 equals 0. Yeah, there's no x in there.
X squared plus 0?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be 0?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It makes the problem a little easier because you don't have to complete the square twice. You only have to do it once. So we're still going to do the process basically the same. I'm going to like break up the letters. So I'm going to have the x squared sitting all by itself. And then I'm going to have y squared plus 20y. And I'm still going to leave a space, and I'm still going to move the 36 over. And then with the x, there's nothing to divide by 2, so I'm going to leave it. But with the y, I'm still going to do my normal stuff, so I'm still going to divide by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. So plus 100 over there, plus 100 on the right side to keep the equation balanced. And then I'm going to have x squared plus something squared equals something. So notice with the x, it just didn't get anything special with it this time. It's just plain. All right, so what do I put in the parentheses? Y plus 10 equals, what's the r squared? 64. So what would the center of this circle be? 0, negative 10. And then what would the radius be? 8. Perfect. So when you're completing the square, the number in here is exactly what's in the parentheses. So whenever you divide by 2, that's the number that goes in. But when I say, oh, the center is something, that's when I do the opposite sign. So we were completing the square the whole time. So notice when I divided by 2, I got negative 4, so I put negative 4 in the parentheses. I got 8, so I put 8 in the parentheses. Up here, so ignore this for a second, I got 10, so I put 10 in the parentheses. I got 3, so I put 3 in the parentheses. I only changed the signs when I was asking myself what the center was. So the center, when you're getting an answer out and you're saying what the center is, that's the only time you change the sign. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay.